Well, good evening, and thank you all so much for checking out this video and tuning in. And if you've been following us over the last couple of weeks, you know that we have introduced to you all some really great businesses, and we've really made some great friends over these last couple of weeks. And that's kind of what I love about what we've been doing. And for those of you who haven't been following, over the last couple of weeks, we launched this initiative to support small businesses during the coronavirus pandemic. And so what we did every week is we would introduce a new business to you all on Instagram, Facebook, and on our website. And we would, on our side of the organization, we would purchase products from the organization, and we would deliver them to people on the front line. So the first week we delivered pottery from All Fired Up to grocery workers at a local Giant store here in Arlington. Last week, I hope you all stopped by and got a donut from our friends at Good Donut Company in Arlington. And we delivered a bunch of donuts to healthcare workers at Inova Hospital. And it was a real treat to kind of see their faces and to give them just something to brighten up what are some really, really busy and trying times for them at the hospital. And so our last week, we kind of saved a really special one for our last week here. We have another great business that we wanted to introduce to you all. And I wanted to bring her in. This is the owner of the Ministry coffee shop and wine, Elisa Benatton. So thank you so much for joining us, for spending a couple minutes with us tonight.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to meet you. I have heard, and I was telling you this before we started chatting, I have heard so many great things about you. When I told our team that we were going to focus on the ministry, they said, oh, that's the best coffee shop. And you guys have a reputation that precedes you here in DC. You've been doing some great work. And so you have a great backstory. I was reading a little bit about you, learning about you from your website. Tell us a little bit about your story individually and the story of the ministry.
Okay, so hi, I'm Elisa. I'm originally from Honduras and Guatemala. And I always say by way of London because up until when I was 18 years of age, I grew up in Central America. And then I went to the UK to do my university studies, where aside from studying business administration, my passion has always been food. And then my passion ended up also going into wine. And so after spending 16 years of my life in the UK, I already had family in DC. And I wanted to set roots somewhere, as well as establish a food and beverage business. And so around 2014, I rediscovered coffee coming from a mecca of coffee producing countries. And I created this concept that I thought it would be great, coffee all day and then wine from the afternoon into the night. And of course, coming from a Latin American culture, everything revolves around the food, like table and coffee, drinking culture. That's where we connect. That's where we do a lot of our meetings, but a lot of family and friend gatherings. And I thought it would be a great thing to do to kind of get everybody to rediscover coffee as I did again and bask in those moments, not feeling rushed, that you have to go to work or go to a meeting with having to rush, getting a coffee in like less than 2 minutes, but more about that connection or reconnecting with oneself. And that's how a bit of my story, but also how the ministry was born.
That's amazing. And that name, the ministry, does that have a meaning? Is that?
It does. So it has about like, it's interesting. So my last formal job was for my government. And in Spanish, the State Department is a Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I also thought of Harry Potter and the Ministry of Magic. And I thought it would be a very playful yet unique way to call the business, as in the Ministry of Coffee and or the Ministry of Wine. When we were running names with my sister and I told her, hey, what about the ministry? She said to me, well, coffee and wine are like religion to most people. Mm-hmm. So yep. That's how it ended up sticking. And yeah.
When I first heard it, I thought I was going to church when they told me to come to the ministry. And so I loved it. I thought it's something that you won't forget, yes. Certainly.
Yeah.
super memorable. And something I noticed, especially talking to my team who frequents the coffee shop, who frequents the place a lot, and something I found on your website is the word community
Yes.
really means something to you guys, that it really is that what I've heard the term third room, if you will. And so what has that community here in DC been like? What has it meant to you? I know you're an integral part of the community here.
Yeah, so I think that one of the best things about being in DC is that I found out as I was developing the business concept, but then also as it became a brick and mortar, how collaborative people are, and that the DC, the DMV, they're willing to help. As in, if I don't have a contact or an avenue as to where do I find this, where do I go for this, people are very selfless, and they're willing to help you. And it's like New York and London, they can be very competitive, but here I just really found that people were into helping each other, and that is very important, especially being a foreigner, and that I came here and started from zero, like friends, connections, everything. And so that has meant the world, because obviously, and I know it sounds cheesy, together we can make, things happen, more efficiently. And so community for me has always been important in that sense, but also giving back to the community. The way that I was brought up was to, there's always a way to help others, like if I can do something for myself and for my family, but obviously I can do something for my neighbor, and so that has also been important to me. And prior to opening the shop, I was probably doing it more frequently. And then I got busy, and I was, for instance, doing some work with the homeless, but then, opening the shop, that kind of, like I have no life. That's my life, and but I always strive to try to find ways in which I can give back to the community. And so I'm happy that it is a crisis, but that this is basically allowing me to reconnect and be able to do that because I have more time to focus on that.
Sure. And I can't let that go. But I have to say, if you're looking for a great nonprofit that you want to volunteer with, okay, I know a great nonprofit. Okay. So I'll send you those details later. We can talk about that offline.
Awesome.
But that's great. And that's kind of the sense that I got is you guys don't just kind of care about bottom line, numbers.
Yeah.
You guys care about the people. And so,
yes,
what you said is community means so much to you all, and probably now so more than ever. In terms of during this pandemic. And so kind of what has that been like, having to be closed for so long? I know you guys are on the precipice of reopening in a phase 1, but how has this shutdown been for you guys? How hard has it been?
It's been rough. So we didn't close entirely. We've been open for just takeaway, curbside pickup, and delivery. But as my mom says, something is better than nothing, but it's not enough to be able to have my team be able to have the same amount of hours. We thrive by being able to serve, speaking of community, our guests, that we were that point in their day, right, where we can bring some positivity, and sales have plummeted. And although a lot of people have kept in touch, it's something, but we're struggling. I really don't know, even with a reopening, it will take us a while, like I think most businesses, to be able to be somewhat stable. It's really meant that, like in a very drastic way, we've been forced to recreate our business operations, basically. So it's been rough. It's super stressful. It can be very depressing. But I know that we're not alone. So I'm a very determined and perseverant person. So the thought of shutting down is like, I don't want that to happen.
Sure, sure.
But
And
I
well,
also, yeah.
I was going to say, I know we were just chatting a little bit before, and you made the hard decision to keep all of your employees. And that to me is the difference between small business, local businesses versus these kind of franchises and kind of these large businesses that can let someone go pretty easily. I mean, you were talking about just figuring out how to keep every, employee who wants to be there, and you kept your employees on the payroll, and that's been kind of the hardest thing, I imagine.
Yeah, it has been, even though, yes, we immediately got the training for providing a safe and health, like a hygienic environment for our team. I know that we put a risk on ourselves by being open and allowing people to come in, but we have the proper gear and everything. And I feel responsible for them, like COVID or not, but obviously now, especially with COVID, I'm responsible for putting food on people's table. So it's figuring out what can I do to make that happen. And yes, luckily we've had a grant, access to a grant and access to a loan, but those are only little band-aids that, yes, they can help us move a bit forward, but it's still stressful to figure out, okay, what's really going to happen after 8 weeks or come fall.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I love what you said, and as a leader of an entity, of an organization, a business, whatever, you're responsible for putting food on people's table. What you just said,
Yeah.
and that can weigh on you. So, as kind of we've said the last couple of weeks, what we wanted to do is we want to do two things. The first thing we want to do is, as an organization, we wanted to purchase products from you all that we can deliver to a healthcare worker. So what we're going to do from our side is we're going to be purchasing $300 worth of products and delivering them to essential workers, frontline workers who are helping out during this pandemic. Now, the second thing we want to do is encourage everyone watching this, encourage all of our followers, all of our supporters, anybody who's anybody, to go out and purchase something from you. And so, or to just help you guys in any way. So give us a couple ways that we as an organization, we as people can support you.
Well, definitely. So I'm really excited about being able to get to frontline workers because you guys have already understand and know how to do that. For us as a business, it's really challenging because we don't want to get into any trouble. Like if we were to give people banana breads, like it has nuts, so we don't know about people's allergies. But so we're really excited about supporting in this manner. But in terms of how you guys can also help us, it's really word of mouth and making people aware that, hey, there's this really neat special coffee shop, and you can go, and whether it's just to say hi and lift our team's spirits, or if you want to go purchase gift cards that you can redeem eventually, or we have really cool merchandise. We have coffee, we have wine that luckily because of COVID we can even sell court. So there is really, I think, word of mouth, letting people know that we're there, that there are various ways that they can support just by telling other people, by trying to show up, by going online, but making a purchase, a contribution. If you go to our webpage, we even have a donation section there. And or just reaching out and figuring out a way in which we can collaborate together. I mean, that's what we're there for. And we would love to be able to do something like that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I love all those ideas. And so, everyone who's watching, go out and, skip past the Starbucks, walk past the Pete's or whatever, and go to the local place. Those other places will be fine. Don't worry, they'll be there when we come back. But go in and stop by and say hi and get a coffee, get a bottle of wine. And so they can go to, just put a plug for the website, Elisa.
Yeah, so it's theministrydc.com. And it's at 601 New Jersey Avenue Northwest, right across Georgetown Law, near the Capitol, and really close to Union Station.
Awesome. Awesome. Super convenient area. And so thank you so much again for your time. Thank you for all you're doing for the community here in DC.
My pleasure.
Thank you really for kind of your perseverance. And I love what you said, that you're very perseverant, and you're going to kind of get through this. And so I'm excited to stop by this week and see you in person from 6 feet away.
Yay!
And we can catch up there. And hopefully all of our team will support the ministry DC here in the city. So again, thank you, Alisa.
You're welcome.
Thank you to everyone.